Este es Aaron con enacomputers.com. Otro video para ti hoy. I just received this television as a recycled unit, and you might be wondering why I would be making a video, fixing a problem when it seems as if the television works. Well, it doesn't work 100%. When I first powered it on, it took, I would say, around 10 minutes before it warmed up, and before that, it had a dark screen on the middle to the right hand side. And then also, as I was testing the unit, I would say intermittently, I don't know, 2 or 3 times every 5-10 minutes, whatever, the problem would reappear, meaning a dark screen on the middle to the right hand side. Well, I moved it because I needed to, I placed the television up against the wall underneath the window. I don't watch television, ironically. I just don't. However, I do recycle electronics, and I like working on LCD televisions. They're very fascinating, and I like to try to fix them, and I resell them or I part them out. Also, I'm not into the laws and legalities, but in the state of Colorado, actually, there is a law claiming that it's illegal to pretty much throw away any electronics. I don't think they enforce it, but you know what I'm saying. I'm just throwing that out there. I could care less about that, but technically there is a law. I think I've traced down the issue to the television is a Sony KDL-46XBR4. It's 46-inch television. It's quite wide, quite heavy. It's old. It's 10 years old, but it's an excellent television. So I would say it's almost in brand new condition. No scratches. The individual that dropped it off for recycling, he knew of the problem. He's looked into it. He just didn't feel like fucking with it himself. That's where I come in. I'm not an expert, but I've learned how to, reverse engineer electronics and try to repair them and blah, 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 blah. The Sony KDL-46XBR4, I think it's an issue with the tape automated bonding. Tape automated bonding is at the factory when the LCDs are manufactured. There are these ribbon cables that I think run from, maybe the inverter board, or I need to study that further, but there's a ribbon cable that connects to the top of the television, and there's like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 of them at the top. Here, I'll point out where they would be at. So on the top, underneath the back cover, you have these ribbon cables that are bonded at the factory, and I guess it requires equipment, and it's hard for an average person to perform, although I'm not an expert in that field, but it seems like it's quite difficult. I don't know if you can rebond those ribbon cables. They connect from the television, or I would say probably the LCD screen at the top to one of the boards on the back, one of the circuit boards. Maybe the board for the actual LCD, the colors and all that. Anyways, now let me demonstrate how I can recreate the problem. You see how when I twisted the upper left hand corner, it caused the dark screen to reappear? And also when I pounded, I didn't pound too much. I took my fist and I just pounded up against the plastic. And then now I'll demonstrate how I'm pretty certain it's the upper left hand corner. You know what? I could be wrong. Before, when I did that on the right hand side, it would not cause it to go dark. But this time, when I twisted the top of the television, even on the in the middle and the upper and the right hand side, it caused the dark screen. Or maybe somehow with the cover on, if you twist it enough, it causes one of the ribbon cables that will recreate the problem. We'll I'll take it apart. So I just wanted to demonstrate to you that when the television is positioned in a certain way, then there's no problems. But there could still be a problem every time you turn on the television, and it has to heat, properly heat up or warm up. And I would keep the television for myself, but I don't watch television. But it has HDMI connectors, it has composite and component, and it's 1080p, and it's actually quite a nice television. But what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to permanently fix it. And so I'm going to unplug it and allow 10-15 minutes before I touch the television. I'm going to take off the back cover, and I'm going to videograph it all. And once I get it taken apart, then I will be able to narrow down exactly what area is causing it, that when you twist it, it recreates the dark screen. I know it's these tape automated bonding ribbon cables. I thought it was only the upper left hand corner one, but I'm thinking maybe it's more than one, or somehow when you twist the top or you punch the top, it's usually when you twist the top where the plastic frame is, even on the right hand side or the middle, it causes the dark screen to reappear. So we'll figure it out, and then hopefully once I get it taken apart, then I will come up with a solution. One possible solution would be to use some kind of rubber sealant. However, I don't have any rubber sealant in my office, but what I do have is, since I've fixed tablet screens and even Android screens, one or two, and tablets and even LCDs, I have some double-sided tape that is made out of, you don't want to use anything that's flammable, and then also you don't want to use anything that is conductive. And rubber sealant that's not conductive. I'm thinking the tape, I'm a little bit concerned since it's double-sided and it will have glue. I don't know if the glue will get too hot, and you don't want to start a fire, but I'll have to research that further. But once I get it taken apart, then I will be able to proceed further. I'll be back. I'm back. So now we get to take the back cover off. There's 2 sets of screws, believe it or not, in each hole. On camera you should be able to see. I'll point them out. So where I pointed my finger, there's actually 2 sets of screws that you have to take apart. There's 2 arrows. I don't know if I can zoom in. I can try real quick. I don't know how well it will work. I can always try. And I don't think I will be able to. I don't know. I can try. I'll have to move the camera up a little bit and point it. You may not be able, this camera is not really good for zooming, but there's 2 sets of screws and there's 2 arrows. One arrow is kind of double set of arrows, and another arrow is like more like a solid arrow, like a pyramid. Alright, so let me reset my my zoom now. Again, this camera isn't very good for that. Even the software kind of sucks, but alright, so I reverted back to defaults. Alright, let me get a Phillips screwdriver and we'll start taking apart this television. Sort of. We're going to take off the back cover to start with. So I have a Phillips screwdriver, and I'm going to try to move the condenser mic, but you probably won't be able to hear me, so I may not even talk during this part. And there's quite a few. If you can see there's a set of screws there. So there's 4 sets of screws on every corner. And then I think there's some, you see down where the connections are, down below to the lower right hand corner where the composite connectors and the HDMI, I think there might be some screws there, and then at the bottom. So there's basically screws all around. I think 14 set of screws, something like that. I'll start with the middle ones. Okay, one set of screws is just Phillips. The other one are star, or, you know, hexadecimal. Let me get that alarm. Okay, so took care of my alarm. I'm gonna have to get a tool kit real quick. And we'll have to deal with these hex screws. I think this one might be the right size. Nope, that one's a little bit too big. I have another one. I have another smaller. There we go. This one fit. It is a size, I don't know if this is universal, CRVT10. CRVT10. And I've got my tool, and so we'll now take that one out, and we'll just take out all the screws and go from there. This is where an electric screwdriver would help. And this screw holds the opposite frame for the LCD. There's a frame right here where my hand was at. There's a frame on the opposite side, and it came loose. So and that's somebody on offer up, or it could be one of their spam messages. So anyways, so we got 2 screws out. I'm going to do one more row, and then I'm only going to videograph the screws that are not standard. All you have is 2 sets of screws on the outside, 4 on each side, and then there's some in the middle, and I'll show you the ones in the middle because, you know, sometimes they're difficult to find, or they're just kind of, you know, a little bit confusing or whatever. And then I will go ahead and take off the other screws, but I won't videograph that because that's just boring and redundant. Okay, so I showed you just the 4 sets of screws. Obviously, the TV has 4 sides. Each side has a set of screws, so that's, well, that would be 16. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Alright, so there's going to be some screws in the middle, because I've taken apart TVs, and they almost always, the back cover, they always have screws in the middle that you have to take out. So let's try to find where they're at. There's one here, there. We'll take that one. These screws are marked with arrows, which is much easier. It's a Sony. Some LCD televisions, they don't necessarily mark, you know, what screws you have to take out, or there's no markings pointing out the screws. So we took out that one. There's another one there. There's another one to the right of where I just pointed out to. And let's see if there's some more on the bottom, or I mean, not the frame, not the, you know, the perimeter. Yep, I think there's 2 where the connectors are. There's one here. I don't know if I got that on camera, but I found one way down on the lower right hand corner. Okay, I think that's it. Now there's some screws. You see where the RCA connectors are? There's 2 screws there, but they don't tighten down the back cover. I think they tighten like the RCA connectors to maybe as part of the board. I don't think you have to take those out. Now the rest of the screws are just along the perimeter. So I'll just scan real quick. It's going to be on the perimeter. Each corner, there's 4. There's 2 sets down below, and then there's sets on the right hand side. And I'll just quickly point out the ones down below. So I won't bore you with that. I'm going to go ahead and remove the remaining screws. And when I get the entire cover, I'm not going to take the cover off. I will videograph that. And then I will count up how many screws you're going to have to remove. And then when you go back and try to reverse engineer and take off the back cover for this specific model of television, you'll know how many screws and where they're at and blah 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 blah. I'll be back. Really quick, there's another set of screws that I didn't point out that are actually on the bottom, and I'll point them out really quick. They are right in the middle down below. So there's 2 screws where I pointed out, so I didn't point those out. I'll be back. Okay, so I removed the remaining screws. There's a total of 32 screws that you're going to have to remove. Not pairs, 32 total screws. Some are hexadecimal, some are Phillips style screws. Now I'm going to take the back cover off. Okay, running into a little bit of a problem on the right hand side. I don't want to break anything. Maybe there's a screw underneath something that I missed. I think there's one more hexadecimal screw that I didn't think I had to remove that I have to remove. No, that's not hexadecimal. That's just a Phillips. Okay, so there's 33 screws. "34 screws." So the last two were Phillips, but they were kind of hidden, at least to my eyes, down in the RCA connectors. And so a total of 34 screws that you're going to have to remove, not pairs, total screws. Some are hexadecimal, some are Phillips, and they're all marked by arrows. But when it comes to down where the component level connectors are, those kind of just blend in. So anyways, now we should be able to take the cover off. There it is. So let me show you what I'm talking about with these arrows. And right there. So you have this type of arrow. Here, I don't know if the connector will pick it up. You have those type of arrows, and then you have the solid arrows. And right there. So the solid arrows are for the hexadecimal screws, and the kind of like the double arrows are for the Phillips screws. And then down here there are arrows where you have to take out the last two screws where the component and, well, the RCA connectors are. They're marked. Let's see, one here and then one here. Alright, so we got the back cover off. Now I know from research that trying to find where these, they're called tabs, they're bonded, are up here on the top. I'll try to point it out. Up here, right along up here. But you have to take this cover off up here. And then I think you have to take these two off. So there's a set of screws here. There's screws, you won't be able to hear me. There's screws here, and then there's screws even back behind there. In some videos people took the speakers off on each side. There's a set of two speakers, one on each side, the black, I'll point it out. They took them out. I'm gonna try to, I might, if I don't have to take those off, I will. But so basically I have to get up here. So, I'm gonna have to figure this out now, and I'm not gonna fuck around on camera for that. I'll be back when I figure out piece by piece, I guess. Otherwise this could turn into a really long video. You know what I'm saying? Alrighty, so I figured out what screws I need to take out now and where I can proceed. So you do have to take out the speakers, one on each side. You have to take off the stand, actually, and you have to take off these two metal posts in the middle. So I'll point real quick what I'm gonna remove now. Okay, so let's get going. There's this metal. There's 3 screws up there, so we'll start there. I'll just take off the left speaker. Well, actually, it's the right speaker. I'm looking from it from behind. Oops. Okay, so I got the left speaker. There's a little kind of like a, I think it might be power type of ribbon cable that you have to remove first for the speaker, and then I'll be able to take it off. And I would definitely separate the screws so you don't get confused. Separate the screws, the 34 screws for the back cover, put that in a separate pile, and you might want to just, you know, divide up however you want to do it. When you get all these screws, it can really cause problems if you have it all in one big clusterfuck. Let's see. Well, let me figure out how the tab comes off. I don't want to break anything, and then I'll be back. Alright, I fucked up, but I'm not perfect. You only have to take off one screw for each speaker. It's the silver one, which I already took out. And then the little plastic clip, you just push in on it and then pull. And then it will release the speaker. Okay, now that I have the plastic clip removed, I can just pull out the left speaker. Well, it's the right speaker. Now we'll just do the same process for the right hand sided speaker. One silver screw, and then you press in on that little plastic clip, and then you can pull the speaker. I would recommend that you pull the little plastic clip before you pull the speaker out, just in case you don't want to, you know, those wires are pretty well made, but you know what I'm saying. I don't know, there's different ways to take apart electronics, but I'm just saying. I just noticed that the speakers are marked. So they're marked with an R and an L. Now we have to take off the base, believe it or not. So we'll start in the middle. So you had 3 screws on the top, then each speaker had 1 screw, and then you just release the little clip. So I got one side removed, and I think those are grounding ribbon cables. Remove the screw for the grounding ribbon cable to take this off. Those are also marked. Now they're marked left, right, from the front side, as if you were looking at the television from the front. I'm looking at it from the rear. So this last post that I'm going to take out is marked with an L, so, and the speaker that I took apart on that side is also marked with an L, which obviously when you look at it from this way it's the right hand side, but it's really you're taking apart from as if you're taking apart from the front. So just be aware of that, and they are marked so that you can put them, replace them back. So I'm just going to pull this post, and each post had 3 screws and then a small little, I think, a grounding screw for like a grounding ribbon cable. Now I have to take the base off. So actually I think it's loose enough so that I can take the base off. You have to take the base off so that you can take off there's 2 frames that you have to take off, and unfortunately you have to take the base off. So I think I'm going to try to lift the TV off the base, or what I could do is I could gently face the television on its side, on the side or on its front, on its screen, and then just pull the base. Since I'm by myself, I have to think of a way not to damage the television and hurt myself. Okay, so now I'll be back. I have to figure out a way that I can prop up the television without its base now. I don't want to break anything, and you know what I'm saying, so I'll be back. Okay, as you can see, I laid it flat on the ground, much easier. I have to take, I think, 4 components and then 1 cover, and then I think we'll be able to get the frame. What you want to do is we have to take off the frame that is installed on top of where the tabs are at. So we have to get to the frame. So there's the power connector on your left, and then on the right hand side are some component connectors, and then at the top there's 2 little, I'm not sure what they are, but we have to take them apart, so I'll just point them out to you. So this is the power switch, and it's held on by one screw and one little power cable that you have to just release. So that's some component connectors, and there's 3 cables. There is I think a ground, a power, and some other kind of cable. I'm not going to remove them, so I'm just going to leave that laying on its side, but you need to be careful when you do remove the rest of this that you don't, break that or just become conscious of that. It's held down by one screw. Now at the top on each side there's these little, I'm not sure what they are. They've got like some foam on the back and one screw, and you have to remove both. These are actually fans, so those are very important. They've got foam, and it's got a power connector that releases. When I reverse engineer electronics, I like to remove things. I don't like to leave loose parts unless I absolutely have to. So this one I was able to remove. I'm going to check out the right hand side, see if I can remove that one, because I don't want loose parts, you know what I'm saying? It was held down by one screw. Each fan is held down just by one screw. Okay, now I think one more item and then we can get to the frame, and it's at the top. So I'm going to have to move this. I might just spin it around and then we'll get to it. Okay, so that was like a heat sink, and I don't like those little plastic releases, but I finally figured it out. You just push in on it and it pulls. And then there's some tape, some kind of like tinfoil type tape that you have to take off at the top. I don't know if I have to remove it in another video. The individual remove the entire piece of tape. I think I'm going to leave it like that. And hopefully I don't have to remove the entire tape. I want to get to the frame. So now you can see there's some ribbon cables down there. Those might be the tabs, although the tabs I'm aware of are further up. But we'll find out. So now I can get to the frame now, and then you have to remove these screws. Okay, I have to figure out which screws to loosen, and then for the frame, and then once I loosen those screws, the main LCD area, and then you see there's two frames. The frame of the aesthetics on the outside, that will separate. And then I will be able to get to the tabs. I'll be back. Alright, I think I know what screws I need to take off. There's some base screws that are black. Some of them are marked with an arrow. I think right here.
There we go.
Let's see if I can move this guy. There we go. Okay, I got it. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 10, 11, 12 total screws. One of them is smaller than the other. And once I get the outside frame separated from the LCD or the rest of the metal part of the television, I will try to point out, because it was confusing to me, I'll try to point out where the screws are located so it makes it easier for you. Let's leave this here. Okay, before I move that, there's this plastic right here that I did not remove. There's 2 screws right here. So there's 2 screws recessed where I pointed it out, and I removed those screws, so there's actually a total of, I think, 14 total screws to get the frame, which is, I call this. It's just the aesthetics. And you have to take it off of the rest of the LCD to get to the tabs. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the monitor, spin it around, and I need to take off a frame on the front, and then I'll get to the tabs. So you don't have to take off that plastic piece. I don't even know if you can. I was trying to take it out. You may not be able to without taking the entire frame off. But right here, there were 2 screws recessed. I'm pretty sure you have to take those out. And then this guy too. Okay, so as you notice, I set it down gently because I don't think I can remove the components. There's component connections on the side. You know how some televisions have component connections, RCA jacks on the back, and sometimes they have them on the side. I think there's one ribbon cable that might be soldered. I don't even want to attempt to, but I was able to pull it and push it the farthest away, and then gently set down the LCD, but it's not set on top of it. And then if you noticed, there was one ribbon cable that I had to remove, a small one, before I could remove the frame. So just become aware of that before you start tearing apart electronics, especially when you're removing major pieces from another major piece. Double check your work, make sure you got all the screws. Don't just start pulling, because believe it or not, that plastic can break if you pull too hard. And then just look for ribbon cables that might be snagged or get in your way. You don't want to break a ribbon cable, because it could be for something very important. So now that I got the LCD down on the floor like that, I'm going to move it a little bit closer so it's easier to view, and then I'm going to point out the screws that need to be removed. But I'll be back because I need to take my 30-minute hormone vitamin D break, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to go outside. It's a gorgeous day for the winter time here. It's sunny, and I'm going to take a 30-minute break. It won't matter, but just to let you know that it might look a little bit different when I come back. But the frame, this is what the metal frame on the outside, we have to remove that. And then under that frame at the top where I pointed out near the plastic, I think I've got the right direction. No, my bad. I have it upside down. My bad. It's right here. Is underneath that, that's where the tabs are. I'll be back. Alrighty, so we're going to take the metal frame off the front of the screen. Alright, that's self-explanatory. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 screws. There's arrows pointing out the screws you have to take off. Self-explanatory. Okay. Oh, okay, so we got the metal frame off, and if you notice, you have this, and then you had these little clips that were taped on right here. Can you see it? Let's see. There were some metal clips that were kind of taped on, and you just had to wiggle them back and forth and pull them off. 3 of those, and the screws are marked. Alright, so let me pull it out. The gold looking contacts, that's the tabs. It's bonding. It's automated bonding. I think at the factory, when they make these LCDs, they bond it, and supposedly it's hard for an average person to, you have to have tools, and I think it is quite expensive, but I don't know the entire process, so that's what I researched pretty quick. So this is the problem, is these gold bonds, maybe because of physics, the television gets turned off, it's cool, then you turn it on, it gets really warm, and they're possibly bonded with robots. I'm not sure. I don't know if humans bond, if a human physically bonds manually, and they're like ribbon cables. I don't think they're soldered, and because of physics, you know, you have the cooling effect and the warming effect with the television turned on. They wear down, or maybe they use inferior parts, or they're cheap. I just don't know. There's another one of those. There was four of those clips. He's right here. Okay, so that should do. Let's see. Can you still see it? Okay, you can see them. So as you can see, where I'm pointing, the gold contacts, that's bonded. They're called tabs, and it's automated bonding. They attach directly to the LCD screen. Well, when the beginning of this video, when I twisted the monitor, the television, it would cause the screen to go dark. So now I have to figure out which ones are the problem. Maybe they're all a problem, or so I have to test now. So I'm going to plug in the television, and what I can do is I can take like an eraser and I can press down on these tabs and see which ones are causing the problem. So let me prop up this TV correctly. I don't want to break it, and I don't want to cause any problems. So let me do that, and I'll be back, and then we'll go ahead and test, and I'll try to figure out if it's all the bonds or one or whatever that's causing the problem. I'll be back. Okay, I put the television back on its stand. As you can see, it's turned on. The backlight works just fine. Now I'm going to try to reproduce these dark screens. So let me hook it up to my computer. I should have done that, but I just thought of it. And then I'll go ahead and test with an eraser. These tabs up here, the gold, I don't think it's real gold, but they're gold, like they're ribbon cable, gold colored. Those are the automated tabs. It's automated bonding. So let me hook up my computer real quick. And let's see, HDMI 1, I thought it was HDMI 1, maybe it's HDMI 2. see. It could be a cable unplugged that I need to be able to get into the menu for the remote control. I'll be back. Okay, I figured it out. So, just wanted to have it displayed so I can test this out. There we go. That one. Seems like the one on the very right hand side, I don't know if, let me move the camera a little bit. The one on the very right hand side is a big problem. If you notice, when I press in, it causes the display to lighten up, become brighter. But it doesn't, it seems like not all of them, when I press in, cause that problem, but the one on the very right end does. Let's move this camera. Okay, it seems like I might have fixed some of them just by pressing in. But the one on the very right hand corner, I press in and this display gets brighter. So I'm gonna have to figure out now. One solution could be to apply some kind of maybe weather sealant. I don't have any weather sealant though. One solution was just to put some rubber weather stripping. I don't have any of that kind, but what I do have is some double-sided tape for Android screens and tablet screens when you replace them. However, it's really thin, plus it has adhesive on it, and when I touched one of them with my fingers, it was pretty hot. So you don't want to cause a fire. I don't know if I show you what I'm talking about. One side has just the white side, is you peel that off and there's glue underneath. This side has already glue on it. Now what I could apply this maybe this way. Don't put it, well, it's double-sided tape. What I could do is I could leave the plastic sheath on, but I don't know if that'll melt. I just don't know how hot those ribbon connections get. They're pretty hot. When I touched it, it was pretty warm. And if you notice, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 of them. It's not the top. I thought it was the top. I thought it was the top where the problem was. It's actually on this specific LCD, it's actually the side. When I pushed in on the side, it would cause the screen to go bright or dark. And now the one on the very right hand corner is not, it's still a problem. So I'm going to have to find out a solution. I'm going to research further. I want to make this as permanent of a fix as possible so I can sell this television, because there's nothing wrong with it. It's like in brand new condition, even though it's 10 years old. There's no scratches, not even on the back cover, nothing. It comes with the remote. Everything works. It's an excellent television. It's 1080p. It's got HDMI connections, RCA connections, composite connections, blah 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 blah. One person is listing it for $200 on eBay, but they had not received any bids yet. I'm gonna investigate and see how much they did sell the TV, if they did sell it. There's another listing somewhere on some other website for $300, so I might list it for $250 on locally. I'm not gonna try to sell it on eBay or no. I'm not. These TVs are fucking heavy. They're, I would say, 50 pounds, somewhere around there. No, I'm not shipping nothing 50 pounds. But I'm not gonna sell it for $250 with this problem where it's intermittent. When it turns on, Sometimes it takes 10 minutes before it warms up, and then before that it's a dark screen. Sometimes it's intermittent, where you get a dark screen every 10 minutes or so often. What I really think the problem is maybe those ribbon cables are kind of loose. So a more permanent fix would be to apply some kind of, I have some foam too. I was thinking of this. This is kind of a foam. You don't want to use metal. Plastic maybe, or foam. Now I've got bubble wrap, but that would get hot and it might melt. I don't even know about this foam. I need to research further and see what kind of materials I can use that won't melt. You know what I'm saying? And then it'll be solid enough and it'll be thick enough so that I can apply a layer on the front side. I'll probably do the entire row, all 16. I'm going to cover all 16 with some kind of a material like this, and I might have to cut it out, and then I will place the metal frame. You see the aluminum metal frame over there? I'll screw that down, and then I will test, and I will do a swivel test, and I will try to see if I can cause the darkness to reappear. If whatever materials I use doesn't, and then I twist it and I even pound, and not too hard, but once you put the frame on, I'm not going to do it now. You don't want to, because these are live circuits, and you got live ribbon cables that are, I'm not sure if they're soldered. There's somehow it's some kind of a automated bonding. I don't know. I don't think it's technically soldering. But if I can apply some kind of materials to make it really tight, so that no matter if you move it or if you bump it, or you know what I'm saying, make it tight, make those contacts tight, and then maybe that'll solve the problem and I can sell the television. I'll still be able to sell it. I just won't be able to make as much money if I cannot try to come up with a more permanent fix. So let me research. It's lunch hour. I need to start making my lunch. And then I will try to find out what materials I'm going to use, and that'll be the end of this video. I know it was a lengthy video, but this is the first time I've ran into this problem with these. They call it ghosting or dark. What else do they call it? Ghosting, or the middle to the right hand side of the screen goes dark on these Sony Bravia LCD televisions. And then I will test it, and I will videograph that, and I will put it back together. I might videograph that, and then that'll be the end of the video, and hopefully that'll be a more permanent repair. I'll be back. Alrighty, I finished my lunch, and now I think I have the solution. I'm gonna go ahead and use this tape that I discussed earlier, and I will show you on screen what the exact tape is in case you want to use it. This is designed for LCDs and computers. I think probably more for Androids and tablets, but when you look at the specification on Amazon, I bought it from Amazon. At the time I think I paid $12 for it. The price here says $17.85, but you might be able to get it cheaper from somewhere else. But it's the 3M 9448A double coated tissue tape. It's a ½ inch by 55 yards, black. Well suited to bonding. You notice how they use the word bonding. Similar and dissimilar materials such as wood, metals, glass, papers, paints, plastics, fabrics. A high level of adhesion. Polypropylene and polyethylenes. Now check this out. Normally used for case, panel, LCD, liquid crystal display, LED, which is another technology that televisions use now, etc. Also, if you look at temperature withstanding, strong adhesive, waterproof. If you look at 3M's website for this tape, it says high temperature under details. Click on details. It says right here, good, go away, get the fuck out of here. Good high temperature holding power. So this is designed for liquid crystal displays. So I'm going to go ahead and use this tape. And I will have a blog post written, and I will document in the blog the exact type of tape. 3M number 9448A. It's really thin, but I'm going to probably use 3 layers, but I'm going to test out 1 layer at a time. And so let's get going with this, because I'm excited to solve this problem, and I'm excited to put the LCD back together and list it and, you know, make money off of it. That's not the only reason why I'm doing this, but it's one of the reasons. I'm not a capitalistic whore like most Americans. Here's the tape. It's not very wide, it's not very thick, but this should do the job. Let me show you and zoom in where the problem lies. It's not on the top. Now, I was confused by that too, but it's actually not on the top. And I will try to describe what that is as soon as I get zoomed in more. There's a circuit board on the top, and then there's these ribbon cables that attach the LCD to the circuit board. They're ribbon cables. On computers, sometimes they are soldered. Sometimes they're bonded. These are bonded. I think they're high temperature bonded. I'm not sure if any kind of adhesive is used, any kind of glue. It could just be heat bonded. I'm not sure the entire process. I just know they're bonded. I know they're ribbon cables. I know there's a circuit board. The circuit board, I'll point out the circuit board. It should be pretty obvious. You have this green circuit board right here. You have the ribbon cables which look gold or copper. Right there. They attach to the circuit board, and they also attach to the LCD. Now, there's a crevice. It's not the top. You think the problem is up here where my finger's at on the top? No. It's there could be a problem on the top, but on this specific liquid crystal display television, that's not where the problem is. The problem is on the bottom side, and I'll point it out. Whoops. There's a crevice. You see where I'm running the rubber eraser? There's a crevice. There's a crevice right here where the ribbon cable attaches the LCD. There's a crevice there where there's plastic behind that. There's a crevice there, and when I was pushing on the bottom in that crevice area, it would cause the backlight to brighten. Now, I think I've fixed most of them, but that could be temporary. Because of physics, it could be possible that those ribbon cables will expand again, and then the problem will reactivate. Whereas this is where I want to make the connection with the frame, the metal frame, and I'm not sure how much room there is between the metal frame when you screw it on and those ribbon cables and even that crevice. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I want to kind of try to plug, or I want to try to make it really tight as possible, so that even if you move the monitor, even if you bang on it, or whatever reason, then, and I also want to make sure that those contacts are tight, because that could be part of the problem. So now I have one remaining on the right hand side, and I will demonstrate once again, and then I'm going to apply the tape right now. So let's see, let me move the camera up a little bit. I'm zoomed in, so it's the very right hand corner. There's a problem there. If I push in with the eraser, this is actually an eraser. It's made out of plastic. If I push in the crevice area on the side, it causes the backlight to brighten. So pretty much anytime I press in on that last, I think the 16th ribbon cable from the left, anywhere on the side, on the bottom in that crevice area near where the ribbon cable is attached to the LCD, anytime I press in, it causes the display to brighten. But I pretty much solved all the other ones. When I first got this television, it would, about the entire middle right half side was a lot darker, and it took about 10 minutes until the LCD warmed up. But then when I did some twist tests, you know what I'm saying, sometimes it would be intermittent. Every 10 minutes by itself, the screen would go dark, or it would darken. It wouldn't go entirely dark. So it looks like there's only really one problem left, but because of physics and the fact that I don't know, you know, I'm going to use the tape on all of the ribbon cables, and I will demonstrate what I'm going to do. So I have good tape. I'm glad I have it. You can buy, I would say, the same type of tape that might be wider and it might be thicker, but off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you what the 3M numbers are. You know what I'm saying? All right, so let me demonstrate. So I'm not gonna cut the tape yet. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to start from the left hand side, and then I'm gonna apply it. Now I'm not gonna take the white off yet because I'm gonna test one at a time, one layer at a time. So the black side is sticky, the white side is just a shield that you pull off, and you know what I'm saying? And then I'm going to turn off the television and I'm going to unplug it. That would be a good idea. Okay, that'll be much safer. Oops. The cork's coming out. Okay, so there might be a better way of doing that. I tried to make it as straight as possible and put the tape in that crevice area as close as possible to where the ribbon cable connects to the LCD. Now I'm going to just take an eraser and I'm going to make sure it's tight. Now that's adhesive tape, so you know those are ribbon cables. I don't think the adhesive tape is strong enough, but you might want to be careful if you do pull the tape off to try to reapply it. So you might want to just try to do a straight job the first time. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to take the white shield off yet because I'm going to test. So I might have to do this 3 times. Who knows how many times I have to apply this. And I decided not to cut. I could have cut a piece of tape and applied it for each ribbon cable, but I'd have to cut out, 16 separate pieces of tape. That one didn't do a very good job there. Okay, let me move the camera. Okay, so that's test run, and it's obviously adhesive, so I wouldn't really want to fucking peel it off now because I would be afraid that what would happen is it would pull the ribbon cable, and I'm not sure how cheap they are or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the frame back on and we'll test it. We'll just test it out. Well, you know what? I'm going to turn it on and I'm going to test it. Just because the tape itself isn't going to fix it. It's when I put the frame and make it really tight. I'm hoping that fixes the problem. But I'm still going to test it with the first layer of adhesive and see, you know what I'm saying? Let me hit the power button. There it goes. So let me try the corner that seems to be the biggest problem. Let's see, let me lean it back a little bit. And then Okay, I didn't expect, it's not, the tape's not gonna just fix it by itself, but yep, the corner is still a problem. So, but I can apply multiple layers in the corner and make sure it's tight. So now I'm gonna turn off the television and I'm gonna put the case on. Okay, so I can, screw it down just like I would if I were to reinstall this guy. The screws that tightens this metal cover are different. They're skinnier than the other screws. I could even just, tighten the top ones. Move it. I'm just going to do some testing. Just lightly bump it, not too hard, and then twist, and then I'm going to really test out the right hand side. I don't think it fixed it. I think I have to add multiple layers of that tape on the right hand side, but it looks pretty bright. But I think the right hand side is darker. I can tell. If you look at the right hand side, look at the right hand side. It seems a little bit darker on the very right compared to the middle and the left. So that's probably that number 16 ribbon cable. see. It's much better than it was. Although a couple of times when I did the twist testing, it went pretty dark, but it only did it once. So what I'm going to do is take off that metal frame cover, metal frame, whatever. And I'm going to probably apply 3 layers of this tape, and then I'm going to really then zone in on number 16 on the very right hand side, and who knows how much tape I have to use. But this is much better. I've powered it on and it doesn't go to dark. It doesn't need to warm up, so we'll try 2 more layers and we'll test that out. I don't think those are scratches. No, okay. Okay, let's see. Yep. Well, I'm just gonna keep applying tape until, and I'm really gonna concentrate on that right hand side, and hopefully I can get it so it's so tight on the right hand side that, I mean, how many people are gonna sit there and fucking twist their television? But there's still it could be the right hand side. When I twisted it, you can obviously see it goes darker. And so I'm just going to keep applying tape, and I'll be back, and then I'll tell you how many layers I added. This tape is probably too thin. You can get thicker stuff that you probably want to use, but this is the type of tape that you would want to use because this is designed for LCDs and it's designed for high heat. But this is probably, I don't have any other type of tape right now, but I would say thicker. I'm not sure how thicker, I couldn't tell you that. I don't know. There's right here, I have no idea how much space is between this metal frame and the tabs, the ribbon cables. I have no idea how much room is in there. Now if you notice, there's these little grooves here. Is that where the crevice is? I don't know. I'll be back. Alright, I'm done. It's quite a bit brighter. I don't know if you can tell, but I can tell. I added 3 layers of this tape, and when I screwed down 5 screws, 3 on the top, 1 on each corner, the screen was quite a bit darker. And then this middle screw, I loosened that middle screw, and as soon as I took out the screw and loosened it, it went back and was brighter. So that's my litmus test. Also, I found out that there's like a rubber sealant. There's a rubber, they fucked up this. I don't know why they did this with the core. The middle core of this tape is now coming apart because it's cheap. But for this little, anyways, there's like a rubber sealant, or just a piece of a small rubber, I would say about as thin as this tape, underneath here, right where the crevice would be at right where I'm applying the tape. They put a rubber, you could almost even call it like a, what do they call that in automobiles? You know what I'm saying? But right down here, inside a gasket, it's almost like a little rubber gasket, but I don't know, maybe it's not thick enough, I don't know. But that's pretty bright. And then I'm going to show you, it's still dark on the right hand side to me, to my naked eye. I think it's still dark, but overall it's brighter. And I'm going to, the last thing I'm going to do is on the right hand side, I'm going to apply as much tape as possible and test it out, and then I'm done. But I'm not going to videograph that, but I want to demonstrate some twist tests. So when I twist the LCD now, it doesn't go to dark anymore, it doesn't darken. But I still think the right hand side is darker, but it's much brighter. I'm hoping that once I do put everything together, that this is a more permanent fix. At the very least, if it's this bright, and you know, and then when the people turn on the television, it doesn't need to warm up, and it's not dark, or it's not gray, or it's not, you know, it doesn't have to warm up, and then it doesn't go through the intermittent every 10 or 15 minutes where it's less bright. If I fix that, then I can sell the television for sure. And if I can, I think if I can fix the right hand side, then I'm going to probably list it, and it's a permanent fix. I will burn it, I'll just keep it on, turn it on, I'll just, you know, use it for a while. Then I think I will try to sell it for over 200. You know, if I feel, and then I warranty these for 30 days, and I sell them locally. And I at the very least, I made it where it doesn't have to go through the fucking warm up, and it doesn't, it's a lot brighter, and if I twist it around, it doesn't go back, it doesn't, you don't see the ghost, and it doesn't have that problem. So I'm not going to videograph the rest. You just, to, you know, put it back together, you just reverse engineer it. And here, I'll show you quickly what I did. I put all the screws together, and I put the parts separate, and then I placed the screws next to each part, and even the cover, and back there you had those metal brackets, and you had the speakers. I separated it all. I organized it, and then I put screws next to each item, so that way I don't have a big clusterfuck of screws. And so now I know where the screws are at, and then I just can put it back together. So that's my video. Hopefully it helps out, but I don't give a fuck if you hate my videos. Quite frankly, I don't give a fuck if you like my videos. This is what I choose to do on my free time, and I make money fixing computers and electronics and LCDs, and I think it's better for the environment. This would have ended up in a landfill, and why? The TV works just fine. It's just some certain issue with these ribbon cables that are automatically bonded from the circuit board to the LCD. You might want to check out my blog post at ain'titcomputers.com for details on tape. Oh, another thing I wanted to show you. Let me show you that. I want to show you that, and then I got to run. Let me take off this cover real quick. So inside, I'll quickly show you that. Inside there's like a gasket or whatever it is. There's a rubber, it's rubber right here. See it right there? That fits in that crevice I was talking about, and it's exactly where I'm applying the tape. So that rubber goes over the cables, the tabs, where it's bonded. But maybe it's not thick enough, I don't know. And then another thing I want to show you is it has these little pads which I've seen before. Right here, where my hand's at, right there. I've seen those before with computers and circuit boards. In the middle, it's like foam, but on the outside, it's kind of like a hybrid. It's kind of like a shielded tinfoil type material that shields it for heat. I would say if you can find those, that's what I would use. I don't know if they make tape that's made that way, but if you've worked with electronics and especially computers, you know what I'm talking about. They place them on the circuit board, and then you can press down because it's got foam in the middle, but then also the exterior has shield for heat, and you know what I'm saying? And so they designed that intentionally so that when you put the cover on, you don't have metal scraping against the circuit board and then the connectors. But I think probably to protect the circuit board actually from the frame. If you can find that, or if you can find that material, I think that would be better because it'll push in and it'll be really tight, and then it also is shielded, and I would say that material rather than this tape. But I don't know, I just don't know if they sell like I don't know if you can buy it and then it's like kind of like a tape and then you can cut off segments, but that's what I would recommend. That right there. I don't know if I can show it to you again. Adios!